AI in ESG with Google tools, ideas and concepts. Hi, my name is Guna, and I'll be doing a short video on how we can use Google tools to implement AI, and especially looking at ESG as a use case example. Why am I talking about this? Because I am a sustainability consultant myself, and I'm also a user of Google Workspace. So I've been naturally testing out a lot of the tools and solutions that is available out here, and then I would say that generally, you can use sustainability or ESG as an ideal testing ground for your AI implementation. Why am I saying this? Is in most cases, if you have a sustainability team, usually these will be the young people, right? So these are the one that's passionate about sustainability and all that. So they should also be quite open to test out new ideas, new workflows, and especially related to AI. Okay, that's one thing. And number two is, of course, there's a lot of new regulations and rules that are coming into play in many parts of the world that are in relation to ESG. So obviously, that also means that there's going to be a lot of new workflows being created, and this is an ideal testing ground to implement AI as part of natively involve AI as part of the workflow. Okay, so this would be relevant to sustainability and ESG teams. This also would be relevant to any small business owners who are thinking about testing out AI for your solutions, etc. And the technicalities and the workflows that we're going to talk about here generally applies for. I mean, it can be used for any use case as well. So it is an open-ended scenario as well. Okay. So for the use cases, we can say that generally 80% of any business workflows can benefit from some sort of AI or automation. Okay, and now the good thing is with like with companies like Google, they have a lot of low code to no code tools that are made available, which also means that anybody can develop any solutions for any workflows anytime, right? Because they want to empower a concept called as citizen developers, and they want people to, like, if you got a solution that you think you can have a own system to be used, you can build it yourself. And this can be an AI solution, this can be an application, and this can be anything else, right? So generally I would categorize the workflows, okay, as data collection, communication, and reporting. Again, this is not specific to ESG. This can apply to any industry as well, right? Okay, so for data collection, how we can use AI, how we can use Google tools is we can actually build custom apps to collect data. So for ESG, it's there's a lot of emissions, like greenhouse gas emissions related data that are routine, that has to be tracked from many different sources. So this can be either your office, this can be either your factory, or this can be your site, or this can be your even your workers going around, right? Okay, so you can technically use Google's no code tool to develop applications to do that. We'll look into the details later. And then obviously we can also integrate additional workflows within that sort of data collection as well. Okay, and then the next part is communications. So this is basically we need to get information from internal and external stakeholders. So there's a lot of communication between, let's say, from my company to uh, my supply chain companies. Okay, so this back and forth communication can be quite tedious, and people tend to make a lot of mistakes and tend to overlook a lot of things because obviously a lot of things will be happening at the same time. So this sort of use case, if you ask me, is prime or ideal for agentic workflows. Okay, so we look into that, and obviously we can also use Google Sites to build dashboards to display live data and all that. Okay, and then the next category is reporting. This okay, if this I can't speak for other industries, but I know for my industry, ESG, environmental, there's literally too much of standards that are coming up. Okay, and every country has a different standard, every region has a different standard, and every client, they have a different standard requirement. And then on top of that, there's also like local regulations, etc. So when it comes to this, usually it's very confusing for people who are involved, to kind of figure out what's happening, right? And this is probably again is an ideal sort of solution, ideal sort of scenario for AI, because AI is really good at understanding classifying and analyzing different sorts of data. Okay, so it can help us to understand the standards, regulations, and also we can have a lot of data from this part, and then we can also kind of classify the data, which data is important, which data is relevant, and all that to our reports and all that. So again, this is it's a very good use case example for AI, yeah, for AI. Okay, so going back to data collection. Okay, uh, let me just kind of show what is my idea here. Okay, I've identified some use case solutions, and there's six minimum here. Of course, I'm also working on more. And all this I know with Google tools, existing Google tools, anybody can configure, set up, and get it done. Okay, you don't need to be a programmer because I'm not a programmer, and in most cases, I use Gemini to explain the code to get the concepts and all that. Okay, so my idea is I'm going to build illustration or use case sample for all of this. Okay, and I'll be sharing it in my website. Okay, so if this is something that you think it's relevant to you, you can follow me. You can keep updated with what I do. Okay, so let's look at the first use case under data collection. So we can quite easily build a custom application using Google App Sheet. So if you're familiar with Google App Sheet, this needs no introduction. And what Google App Sheet is literally, if you're using Google Sheets to keep track of data, you can come up with an app interface for any sort of data collection. Okay, so this, if you, I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, right? Okay, so any data collection can have a user interface either for your phone or it can be for your computer as well. And the idea is by having this sort of interface, it's very easy for people who are on the field, people are offsite, and all that, for them to collect data. Okay, and this, so you can use Google Sheets and App Sheet to come up with any sort of application for any sort of data collection. Okay, and then once you got data collection, you also need to keep track of what's happening with the data collection. So for this, you can kind of build a AI assistant, right? And this AI assistant can check the data, it can update the status of the data, it can send reminders if there's missing data or people forgot to update the data, and then it can also summarize the data. And the best part is you can also ask to create a voice note and then send to you regularly, so that you don't have to keep coming back to the Google Sheets to know what's happening. You can just receive the voice note, and then on the go you can listen to what's happening. Okay, so talking about that, so I've actually built for this particular sample, right? Okay, we're talking about how we can use an assistant to keep track of information. I've actually built a sample use case here, and I called it General Secretary Agent. The name can be anything. So this is basically the idea is it's like your own assistant or secretary who will keep track of whatever important KPIs that you're tracking. Again, this can be for any application. It does not need to be ESG. It can be any application. Any KPIs you keeping track of routinely. Okay, you can look at the data, and then you can send automatic reminders if people forget to key in the data. Let's say your subordinates or your staff forget to key in the data, it will send them a reminder saying that you missed out, you forget this one. Or if they filled out the wrong information or whatever, you can say that this is wrong, or you forget this particular information. And then you can take the data, you can send it to Google Gemini to do a simple analysis. And this analysis can be as simple or as complicated as it can be. So in this particular case, the demonstration or illustration is using a very simple comparison sort of analysis. So you got a base data, and then whatever data that is collected live, it says that okay, it's good or bad. Then if it's bad, then it kind of triggers, like, why is it bad? Check, require for follow up action or whatever. So this thing, okay, it can be done using Google Sheets as the base, and then AppScript. Okay, and then of course you have to call the Gemini from Google Cloud using API and all that. And AppScript is actually a low code. It's not a no code. It's a low code JavaScript platform. And I've developed this. And the thing is, I don't know how to code because I used Google Gemini to tell me based on, like, what's my requirement. I just ask it to, okay, you know what, I'm going to use this, I want this function to be integrated in app script, come up with a code. And it came up with a code, and just I just copied the code, pasted in app script, and it works. Okay, so technically this can be done in half an hour for whatever use case, whatever things that you're keeping track of that's important for you. You can literally build an AI system that can look at the data, summarize the data, send you voice notes, send you updates, so that you can listen to what's happening on the go. Okay, so we look at other use case examples. So for communications, so this can be quite interesting as well. So GHG emissions live dashboard. Okay, so you have data collection being done. Okay, and then usually this it's ideal to have a visual representation of the data. So this is where dashboard comes into play, and Google Sites is perfect for any sort of dashboard. Okay, as long as you got data in Google Sheets, you can do wonderful illustrations using Google Sites. Let me just quickly show you an example of this. Okay, so this is a dashboard. This is a sample dashboard. This sample dashboard based on fake data. So yeah, you can literally have anything, and all this data you see, we have target, we have what's our status now, and then we have all this live emissions, live billing data, all sorts of data can be collected. Okay, and again, Google Sites. It's if you know how to use Google Sheets, if you know how to use Google Documents, you'll know how to use Google Sites. It's that easy to figure this out. So going back to this live dashboard, okay, and then we can also quite easily build AI chatbot now. And when I talk about AI chatbot, I'm talking about real AI chatbot. Okay, it has data as a rack concept, right? Retrieval augmented generation. So you got a database, and then you can have an open-ended discussion with this so-called AI chatbot. So it's not a fixed step-by-step answer A, answer B, answer C. No, it is an open-ended discussion you have. So this actually can be done quite easily again with Google's conversational agents tool. So it uses Gemini as the AI model, and you can kind of build the workflow here. And of course, it sits in Google Cloud. Okay, and again, this can be for any use case. Okay, we can have an ESG information chatbot. We can also have for HR policies. It can also be for your project details, or in fact anything, whatever that you think you want to have an AI chatbot. You can build the chatbot, and then you can take the code. You can put it back either in Google Sites if it's for your internal use case, or it can also be put into your website, your company website. So how it looks is, so again, this is a sample in Google Sites. Okay, I developed that chatbot, and then I just kind of, it's very simple. Again, the UI is not perfect here. The idea is illustration to show the concept, right? So this is an AI chatbot that I developed in Google Conversational Agents tool, and then I pasted the code in my Google Sites. Okay, and then this is based on one particular sustainability report. Okay, so that is the database that this thing uses as a rack in this case. So we can ask any questions. Example, I'm going to ask it, so it's going to refer back to the database, and then this database, obviously, it's a PDF file in this case, and it gets the answer, right? So you get the concept. So this can be, again, anything. It can be your HR policy, it can be a project detail, it can be a fun project that you're doing for your company as well, right? Okay, so back to this. Okay, so another use case example. Okay, whatever we saw just now is probably on the easiest side of things. Okay, these are all like a single tool, right? We can also look at more. ESG can also be a very ideal showcase or testing ground for a complicated AI agentic workflow. When I say AI agentic workflow, I'm talking about, you have data. Okay, you can analyze the data. You can, based on the data, you can raise an alert. You can come up with a report. you can send reminders, or you can even initiate any sort of other workflows. Okay, and Google technically has all the tools, and you can use your Google Cloud bucket as your database. Okay, and then from there you can quite easily connect any sort of agentic workflows. You can create AI agents in a different using agentic systems, and this can communicate with your data in Google Cloud. And then of course whatever other Google tools is connected with that through AppScript. So data can be used to update status in sheets. Data can be used to send email. Data can be used to initiate any other workflow as well. So one sample use case I would say is for usually for ESG, right? Let's say I am a company that I want to keep track of my ESG quality. So I need to make sure that my vendors meet certain sort of requirements. So this usually means that I have to communicate with my vendors. I have to tell them what sort of standards they have to comply with, what sort of documentation they have to come up with, and how to do it. Okay, so this sort of workflows is quite ideal with agentic workflows. You can have literally you can have like systems where you can send your vendor code. Okay, and this code they have to run in their PC, and then it sets up a system. Okay, their database, like your files, the access and all that. And then you will have your own AI agent that you have in your system, in your own Google Cloud system. And this agent will have access to your vendor's so-called database for that particular database that they provide the permission. So the idea is when you tell your clients, you know what, I need you to come up with this policy by 3 months. Okay, and then you tell them how to do it, and then you can get this agent to kind of follow up after that. Okay, so this will check that particular folder for that particular policy. If it's updated on time, then you can take the data, you can take the file, and then you can do further analysis, like does it meet the quality or not. That's one agentic workflow. If let's say the data is not, or the vendors has not updated the policy on time, you can also send a reminder or these kind of things. So this is usually like when like it's done manually, and this is where there's a lot of like mistakes happen. People overlook things. Okay, and it's one company can have 100 vendors, so it can be a very messy process. But if you can design an AI agent, okay, which you can do, and that agent has particular jobs. It just keeps tracks of, let's say you've got 100 vendors, and these 100 vendors, they have because of this AI, you have standard documentation format in their Google Cloud platform, and you can build an agent that goes and checks and then updates back to you. So all this can be done now. It's all technically feasible with Google. So again, like I said just now, I plan to build illustration samples for all this. If you think this is something that you're interested, you can follow me. You can also check out the details in my website, www.agenticsolutions.net. See you around. Thank you.